Yo, welcome everyone. Hope you guys are having an awesome Sunday. Of course, we continue the Code Assault arc with this episode, episode 288 of the Boruto anime, nearing that 300 episode mark. Of course, over the last week or so, we've had, those wild rumors of, the Boruto anime going on hiatus. I still don't know if those are confirmed, but again, I think if it is true, it would be for the best. So that's just my 2 cents. But I hope you guys have an awesome day. Of course, be sure to leave a like, a comment. Let's start that discussion. And of course, naturally, the new Boruto chapter is tomorrow. So this week is going to be one of those hectic weeks when it comes on to, just doing Boruto content. But should be fun. But join me tomorrow. I should be doing a live reaction stream. So after I come home from work, adulting, it's ridiculous. But yeah. Anyway, let's see how this episode does things, and let's get into it. Cody, you're not doing nothing. You're not bad, so. Not with this one. Girls are personal hygiene, brother. you can't remove your hand now, Code. Your finger, please. It's interesting how they're doing the title cards now. I like it. Yo, Bug just look stressed out. Honestly, the man just want cut out of this situation, honestly. That should be an additional scene compared to the manga. But alright, cool. Yes, sir. I don't know, like, ever since she was introduced in the manga, like, I've just loved her design, honestly. Ooh, loving the eye. I don't think the voice, like, the voice actress choice, I don't think it was what I expected for Eida, but I'm interested to see how it goes. In terms of the range of the performance, because like with all things, like when you just guess it and you're like, it's not what I expected, it could grow on me, and I think it already is. So let's continue. What me suggests? Hey, I thought you'd never ask, fam. Sarada, no one cares, fam. No one cares. Shadow clone, fam. Ah, yes. A sign of things to come. For tomorrow. A bit of additional dialogue there. It's just the calmness, dog. The calmness of her. Ooh, well, this is new. I mean, Boruto, me are the main character. Bombard. Stop it. Oh, well. The choice of dialogue is very interesting, Like, it's been changed with manga material in mind for tomorrow. I'm just saying. This is actually better. I like the OST. I always be talking. Man's like, shit, those thighs. Shit. I can't resist. Yo. Bug just stressed out. I just like, it's so funny. Oh, here I am. Here to watch, at least two of the characters who are, more or less stronger than me. Without the 1-2 wombo combo. Stop it. Sure you can. When I did Kawaki so much. Bomb! No, brother! Where's that dude the one, sir? Ooh, shit. Boruto deal the one viciously, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, with all these new OSTs just sound really good. Ooh. Doesn't Konohamaru in the scene? Huh. Seriously. I guess that's how they, you know, correct things for him to get the next, you know, headband. Eida, in it for a prince. Boruto, stop the foolishness now. Just that now stick together. Really, that glue. Well, that's it. Alright, so that was episode 288 of the Boruto anime, and like first impressions, like content wise especially, I think this episode was much better than last episode, just on the content alone. In terms of the fact that we got, you know, a decent amount of Boruto, our Team 7 and Kawaki in Konoha, and we had that, you know, layered with Eida and, you know, Bug and Code there. The episode feels much more, it doesn't feel as monotonous, just, you know, last episode kind of felt like one note, especially like with it, I wasn't a big fan of the additional scenes that they added last week. Sorry, I'm more of a fan of the ones that they added this week, especially with the dialogue, honestly. But let's get into it. So episode 288 of the Boruto anime continues the Code Assault arc, continues to adapt to the manga. And compared to the manga, I must say what this episode really excels in pulling off in execution compared to the manga is the emphasis on certain story beats between Kawaki and Team 7 and their mentality there, and Eida and Code. Now, of course, in this episode, we get a full dosage of Eida and getting an appreciation for her abilities, to be quite honest. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'll be comparing this to the manga. I can't really remember exactly if some of these scenes really happen in the manga, but as I go along. So, of course, this episode we get a full appreciation of Eida's powers through her interaction with Code and Bug, and we learn that she has the ability to, well, quote unquote, capture the hearts, captivate anyone she comes into contact with, whether it be men or women, with the exception of blood relatives and Otsutsuki. And it seems that persons that actually become her captives, quote unquote, seem to fall in love with her, become super nervous, and it makes it much easier for her to actually have her way, or just have her way in general with them, which, you know, on the surface when you're thinking about it, it's whatever, but this episode did a decent job, to say the least, in actually showcasing how dangerous that ability can be as she leaves the pod to, you know, brush her teeth. And I think those little moments kind of tell or showcase a lot when it comes on to who she is as a character. So we got a decent amount of characterization with her. I mean, based on her appearance, you can make some assumptions. You know, she seems classy, that type of lady, you know. And just her, even just the whole fact that she wanted to brush her teeth before, you know, talking to Code, I think that was a nice way to characterize her. And that it was basically the same in the manga, essentially. So that was cool. But again, back to her ability, this episode really helped to really showcase how serious her ability is. From that additional scene of when she was going to the bathroom and she bumped up into that guard and like, yo, do you want to point that, you know, dangerous weapon at me? To the fact that Code, who up to this point has been characterized, showcased as, and been told to us by like important characters like Amado or Kawaki, characters who have, you know, been with them for been around him for the longest while, that he's like a devout worshiper, follower of Ishiki Otsutsuki, or the Otsutsuki in general. And they changed up the scene a bit when they were telling well, when Eida was telling Ko to actually leave, and that was interesting to me, and the fact that she, well, the scene of her actually kind of making fun of Jigen and the way he died, that was in the manga, but the fact that Code was visibly upset but wasn't able to take action really helps to sell the the danger factor of Ada's ability, because if she can say that about Jigen and upset Code, who by right should be pissed off and attack her at that point, and someone like Code, a devout worshiper, can't attack her. This episode, through those interactions, really helped to showcase how dangerous that ability is, if I'm being quite honest. So that was an awesome tidbit to actually sell the character, or the danger, the potential danger of Eida, especially knowing that she's working with Code, and her ability to actually, see everything in the present up to the day she was born, but not the future or before she was born. Also an amazing ability, and the fact that she was able to spy in on Team 7's little sparring match there, that was just, it just really helps to sell Eida as a character. I feel better in terms of how they sold Eida with this episode, more so than how they sold us with Code last episode, as like just building him up as a credible threat now that Ishiki is gone. Eida it feels much more like I could bite into the material just a bit more, That's all I'm saying. So that was good. We also see this episode that Kawaki and Team 7, which I'm kind of making that separation there. Kawaki and Team 7 training in this episode. And, this scene is, or even this stretch of time, is very important for the events that are happening right now in the last two chapters of the manga, because this training session is part of one of those many scenes that contribute to us, the audience, understanding the mentality of Kawaki in relation to those around him. And of course, it kind of does tie back to the whole, I guess, theme that the Boruto series has, even if it's on a subtle level when it comes on to tradition and modern ways of actually doing things. Ties back to the Boruto movie in terms of, even if things change the same, the solo shinobi stays the same. There's a tidbits like that, but I think even above all of that, it ties back to that first scene in the anime where we have Kawaki on the Hokage monuments versus Boruto, where he was saying, the age of shinobi is over, and Boruto saying, I'm still a shinobi. This little training session really emphasizes that, okay, yes, fine, we're doing basic shinobi training, but Kawaki specifically says it's inefficient. And I think that's a big, talking point when it comes on to all of those, scenes and themes that I'm saying the scene ties back to. Because Kawaki feels that, shinobi training isn't really the best way right now to actually go about and prepare for Code. But it's funny and interesting, because he's not necessarily wrong, honestly speaking. As a manga reader, knowing what I know about Code is like, yeah, he has a point in the amount of time that we have. It's a bit inefficient, and honestly, you'll see if you're an anime only watcher, which I doubt you are, but as we go along, you'll see that the Kawaki's view on the inefficient methods of the shinobi is going to contribute to certain decisions he's going to make, to say the least. And we did have a bit of additional dialogue here to further, dive into how Boruto feels here in the anime compared to the manga, if I do say so myself. Because manga-wise, he wasn't talking about, I'm not going to use karma and all of that. And no, in this fight, we had Boruto go in and say, I'm fighting Kawaki. I'm going to use karma, fam. Like that. So that was another change compared to the manga. There was no talk of Boruto actually, I'm not gonna use karma. And of course, we could narrow it and simplify it and reduce it down to the excuse of, we're just doing this to pad the runtime. I mean, that is a possibility, and that could be a factor as well. But I feel much more accepting of these changes compared to last episode. Last episode definitely felt like padding to me in terms of the I'm sorry, I have this darn cough. Yeah, in terms of additional scenes. And getting a look into Boruto's mindset of not wanting to use the karma because he doesn't want to, based on his incident with Sasuke and hurting Sasuke when Momoshiki took over, and that's interesting to say the least. And him coming to the understanding through this fight that he can't be picky about his methods, which is interesting because it also affects Kawaki and how he views how he should go about achieving power. And of course that is going to tie into a big moment that's going to be coming up in this arc in terms of him being picky and him mentally, subconsciously or consciously making a decision to activate a certain thing. So I found it interesting, and it really helps to build the foundation. Like those changes in dialogue, or additions in dialogue, really help to set the foundation for things to come in the art. It's kind of like the little things that I see that they're doing, and the knowledge of the manga right now. Like, okay, yes, I can see how these additions are going to make it feel a bit more fleshed out when certain, or a bit more rewarding, or make the payoff feel much more earned when certain events happen. So this episode definitely doing a good job. I definitely love the emphasis on how Boruto was fighting Kawaki, because it feels like, to me, it gives me that feeling like, oh shit, I've been beat down this badly without having karma. So again, it's kind of like one of those things that they do with this episode through emphasis that makes me feel like, oh, certain scenes that are to come are gonna feel much more, you know, justified isn't really the word, but it's gonna feel much more like it makes much more sense when certain payoffs actually happen. So this episode really did an amazing job when it comes to that. And even much more interesting, a sign of things to come, where Kawaki was saying in the end there, yo, Momoshiki takes over, because of course that line wasn't in the manga. I'll be the one to stop you with these hands. So it wouldn't be surprising, of course, that of course the studio has, of course, access to the manga. Naturally, I mean it's public knowledge, obviously, but it's interesting the lines of dialogue that they're adding, because it really, as a manga reader, you cannot watch this episode and say like, yo, it's like these niggas like just read the manga and it's like, yo, they're adding little tidbits to kind of sprinkle in to kind of tease certain things, and as a manga reader you can't help but pick it out, honestly. So that made it much more like fun for me as a manga reader to watch. So especially with the chapter that's to come tomorrow. What? Me stress out. Yo, honestly. Outside of all that, of course, they made a change because Konohamaru was supposed to be in the scene watching as well. And I found it interesting, but I think looking back on it now, maybe it was a appropriate change. They removed an element, Konohamaru, from the scene, because in the grand scheme of things, he didn't really have, slight spoilers, but Konohamaru hasn't done anything like as of late. Like even after this scene in the manga, I don't think we've seen him again. I could be wrong, but he hasn't really done anything. So I guess they removed him because, like, what's the sense? He's just an additional element we'd have to animate or show on screen that doesn't really have any payoff as of yet when it comes on to manga. Like up to this point, we're up to the point where we're at in the manga. So it's like, maybe that's the reason. So yeah. Of course, we had Naruto there, who is supporting them and showing, saying he wants them to train, get stronger. But no more to comment when it comes on to Naruto. But of course, by the end there, we have Eida and Code, who formed their alliance. So that was interesting. Of course, they made the decision to go after Boruto and Kawaki. So establishing from early what the the stakes are, what's at stake here when it comes on to this arc. Kawaki for Eida, Boruto to be fed to the Ten Tails. So interesting. A credible threat, a credible duo when it comes on to antagonists, and I'm here for it. Outside of all of that, the OST choice, I'm loving the one I'm hearing. Art wise, sometimes it feels like when they switch to Eida, it's like, oh, let's up the art quality, let's up the bloom, the light flares and everything. It's interesting. But outside of that, awesome episode, honestly speaking. Much better than last week, if you ask me. The only thing I would say is that they just need to continue to up the animation quality and the art in some areas, and we can start having a much more well-received arc. So yeah, that's just me. It's going to be fun. But anyway, Sanjae Uchiha, I've rambled on long enough. Hope you guys have an awesome day whenever you're listening to this, and of course join me for my live reaction stream once I get home from work tomorrow when it comes on to Boruto Chapter 70. It's the true spiritual start of the Boruto series, if you've watched my expectations video for the chapter. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next Boruto Naruto Next Generations Code Assault Arc reaction review.